Hello viewers, welcome to CEC lecture. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani from Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. As you are aware that presently we are handling lectures on dynamic programming under the series of algorithms. So today's topic is weighted interval scheduling, which is a very common example which is handled under the umbrella of dynamic programming. Let us first try to understand what this weighted interval scheduling is. If you are able to recall that we have already seen one version of this particular problem as normal interval scheduling, which is the problem which can be solved using greedy algorithms. So basically your weighted interval scheduling is a variant of normal interval scheduling program. So normal interval scheduling problem was the unweighted version of this particular problem, weighted interval scheduling. Please recall that in that particular problem we what was the problem actually? We were having a set of n activity request where each activity is expressed in terms of two quantities. One is SI, another one is FI. So SI is the start time, FI is the finishing time. So SI and FI are the start time and finishing time of a particular activity, and we have such n activities. The objective was to compute the maximum sized subset of non-overlapping intervals. So this problem can be understood with the example of, let's say we have some lecture rooms and we want to schedule n lectures, we want to schedule n activities where we are aware that every activity or every lecture here is having particular start time and particular finishing time. So we want to in a way optimize the lecture rooms available. We want to take most of that, we want to take advantage of most of the available resources, as we actually this is what the actual goal is. So in this situation what we want to do? We want to do that we need to schedule maximum lectures, and within those maximum lectures there should be no overlapping. That means if one lecture is going on in a particular room, that is very obvious that we cannot start the another one within that room only. So what do we want to do? We want to have a maximum sized subset of these lectures, and these lectures obviously should be in non-overlapping intervals. So that was our interval scheduling problem, and now here we are having one variant of interval scheduling problem which is more commonly known as weighted interval scheduling. So in weighted interval scheduling, along with the start time and finishing time SI and FI, we are having each request associated with a particular numeric weight which is known as VI or the value. So in normal interval scheduling we want to find the set of non-overlapping maximum sized subset of non-overlapping request was the goal in normal interval scheduling. In weighted interval scheduling, as we have weights or value you can say associated with each request, so here the objective will automatically turn up to find a set of non-overlapping requests such that sum of values of the scheduled request is maximum. So what do we want to do now? Here we want to focus on the sum of the weights or sum of the values. These values are associated with each and every activity, and we want that particular sum of values to be maximum obviously. Here if you can see the similarity between two versions, normal version and the weighted version, or we can say unweighted version and the weighted version. We can say that unweighted version can be thought of as a special case in which all weights are equals to 1 because no activity is having any special weight, and with that all activities having weights equals to 1, our greedy approach was very working very fine with that unweighted problem, and that's what we have seen in our greedy algorithm. In the previous lectures of greedy algorithm, we have covered this whole unweighted version, unweighted job scheduling problem in greater detail. But for the weighted version of this particular problem, unfortunately we don't have any greedy solution. So greedy solution is not going to work here, because here the situation is different. Here we are looking to optimize the weight, not the number. So as you can see on the screen, we have two figures. One is for weighted interval scheduling and another one is for unweighted interval scheduling. So unweighted interval scheduling, when seen on the screen, if you can say, optimal unweighted scheduling is taking different three activities, that is first activity, we can say third activity and fifth activity, because this is the maximum sized subset. These are the maximum activities which we can take in a non overlapping fashion. But if we come with weighted scheduling, so weighted scheduling, if you can see, we have a weight of each and every activity written on there. So first activity is having weight 2, second is having 6, then 3, and then 7, 8 and 1. So basically what do we want to do? We actually want to take the activities where we will be able to have a non overlapping schedule, as well as the weight, some of the weights should be maximum. So in that scenario, you can see 2 and 6, the first two activities are overlapping. So obviously in order to maximize the weight, we will be taking 6, then this 6 is getting overlapped with the third activity having weight 3, so that 3 will not be taken up. Then we have one activity which is 7. So intuitively we can see, if we take this 7, we need to drop the activity, all other activities in a way, because that fourth activity having weight 7 is getting overlapped with each and every other activity. So we will be dropping that and we will be somehow selecting 6 and 8 and optimal. So here the optimal set is only having two requests, one with weight 6, another one with weight 8, and now the total is 14. While in unweighted version, you can see the optimal is having optimal is having 3 activities in its subset. So optimal solution consists of 3 activities in unweighted, while that similar thing along with the weights is going to give you 2 activities in its maximum sized subset, because we are focusing more on the sum of the weights to be maximum. Now it is no more about the number of activities. So here comes the difference between weighted interval scheduling and non-weighted interval scheduling. In order to start with this weighted interval scheduling, we need to be sure that greedy algorithm here is not going to help us. We will be falling down, we will be taking our dynamic programming approach. But yes, what will be the kind of steps to the solution, that we will consider in detail. So similar to greedy algorithm, we need to sort the request in increasing order of their finishing time, such that F1 is less than equals to F2 is less than equals to Fn. So we need to sort the request in non-decreasing order of their finishing time. This is the step we also take in greedy algorithm. So similar to greedy algorithm, here also this sorting will take place. And now consider the scenario. Let's say a particular request, assuming the last request. Now there can be only 2 possibilities with this request. Either we are going to include that request in our optimal schedule, or we are going to not include that particular request. So either we will accept the request for our optimal schedule, or we will reject the request. So in both the cases, let us see what is happening. if the last request or the request under consideration is not in the optimal schedule somehow, then we can safely ignore it, and we will be recursively computing the optimal solution or the optimum solution for n minus 1 request, because somehow we have rejected our last request. So, one has been rejected and now we are left with n minus 1 request. So, those n minus 1 the optimal solution with this with those n minus 1 request we will be computing recursively. That is one idea if we are not taking it. Now, coming to if we are taking that particular request into consideration, or we are considering that particular request, last request here for our optimal solution, then what will happen? Then first of all, we will be eliminating all the requests whose intervals are going to overlap with this selected one that is there, because we are looking for non-overlapping intervals, and we will also be receiving the weight of that particular request, which is Vn. And please recall, the requests have been sorted by finishing time. So, if we are sorting the request by finishing time, this involves finding the largest index p such that f of p is less than Sn, and then we will be solving the problem recursively on the first p request. So, now what does this mean? I will be explaining with the help of a figure soon. But the point is, now we are saying that either we will be taking a particular request within the optimal schedule, or we will not taking it in the optimal schedule. But are we aware of optimal schedule? Essentially not. No, at this point we are not aware of this optimal schedule. So, how can we select these among two options? How can we select among these two options? So, we are simple, the answer is very simple. We will be computing the cost of both of them recursively, and we will be choosing which one is better. So, we will compute the cost with for these two scenarios, that if we are considering the last request, and if we are not considering the last request, and we will be choosing the better one of them. Now, in order to implement this kind of scenario, we can say, for the sake of generality, let us assume that we want to solve the problem on some request. Let us say a request from 1 through j, where j is obviously less than equals to n. Now, if j is 0, so if j is 0 means there is no activity, then there is nothing to do. So, here what are we trying to do? We are trying to see how our recursion is working here, because we have already told that whether we are going to consider the last request or we are not going to consider the last request, we will be moving recursively further by considering the two different scenarios. So, if j is equals to 0, we need not to do anything, because there is nothing in a way. Otherwise, what are we going to do? For any given request j, we will define p of j to be the largest integer, such that finishing time of p of j is less than the starting time of s j. So, basically request 1 through pj do not overlap with request j. If no such index exists, then we can say pj is equals to 0. Now, let us understand this concept. Here on the figure, on the screen, you can say we have 6, let us say, activities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with their weights written onto them. Now, coming to j is equals to 1, where there is only one activity whose weight is 2. Now, coming to the pj, here p of j is equals to 0, because there is no such activity there is no such largest index, or there is no such activity which has been finished before starting the activity 1. So, actually we are looking for, we can say, f of P of 1 less than S of 1. So less than starting time, that means before starting time of activity 1, there is no schedule, there is no such index which is already completed. So here obviously P of j is going to be 0. Similarly, if we look at the second request which is having weight 6, so second request, before starting the request number 2, are we done with any request? Have we completed any request? No, as such, no, not in the figure. So then P of 2 is also 0. Now coming to P of 3. So if we can see the third request, we have completed request number 1 before starting of request number 3. So here we can say a finishing time of 1 is less than the starting time of 3, which is clearly shown on the screen. So here P of j, basically P of 3 will be 1, because 1 is the largest index which has actually we can say completed before starting the activity 3rd. Coming to 4th activity, which is having 7 at its weight, we don't have any such index which is completed before starting this. So no, nothing obviously here. So P of 4 is 0. Then we come to P of next activity, which is 5. So if you can see 5, so what all we have been finished before we start 5. So before starting of 5, we have finished 1, we have finished 2 also, and we have finished 3 also. But please remember, we are looking for the largest index, we are not looking for the other smaller ones. So here largest is 3, although 1 and 2 are also finished before starting 5, but 3 is the largest one. So we will be taking P of 5 as 3, and similarly P of 6 also comes to 3. So that is there. So in this way we will be calculating P of j for all the activities. Now this P of j is going to help us in calculating the optimal schedule. So finally what we will do, we will compute the optimal value, and in the kind of next step we will determine which request is going to produce this value, because the objective is not only to calculate the total value of the optimal schedule, but the objective is also to give the schedule as such that what all activities are producing this particular optimal total value. So these two steps will complete in a way make a comprehensive solution. Now what are we going to do? For example, we have we take j activities, and optimal of j is going to denote the maximum possible value achievable if we consider these tasks 1 to j. So if there is no task, I have already told you optimal of j will be 0. Otherwise we can compute optimal of j by taking one of the scenarios. Either we are taking the activity into consideration within our optimal schedule, or we are not taking that particular activity, but finally the desired result will be the maximum value using all the requests, that is going to be optimal of n. So in order to compute optimal of j for any arbitrary j value where j is obviously less than equals to n, we can have two scenarios. As I have already told you, request j is not in the optimal schedule. So if request j is not in the optimal schedule, how are we going to move on recursively towards the solution? So in order to move on towards the solution, we will be considering remaining j minus 1 requests. So technically we can say optimal j is equals to optimal j minus 1, because j is not being considered for some reason, maybe because it is getting overlapped with some, or j is not being considered. Otherwise the second situation could be request j is in the optimal schedule. So if request j is in the optimal schedule, here the two sub activities will happen. First of all, we will be gaining the weight of j inside our optimal schedule. That means, as we have considered the request j, that means we need to take the value of the weight of j inside our optimal schedule. So basically we have gained, we can say vj units of the value. But what other activities we can take to move on further? Only the activities which are non overlapping with j, those can be taken with for further solutions. So any request, we can always say this, any request following pj cannot be taken, because pj is the highest index which is permissible here in order to move on. So any request following pj cannot be taken. So here we will have optimal j is equals to vj plus optimal of pj, because pj is the largest index which is finishing before starting the jth activity. So here the term pj has become we can say instrumental or functional for us. So now writing down these two options in the form of, we can say, recurrence relation, we have a recursive rule which says optimal of j, these two scenarios where j is not in the optimal solution will be given by optimal j minus 1, and when j is in the optimal solution, it is represented by v of j plus optimal pj. And what are we looking for? We are actually looking for maximum of these two. We will be taking maximum of these two, and whatever quantity gives us the maximum value, we will be choosing that. So these two quantities are actually representing two scenarios. One, j is not being considered inside the optimal schedule. Another one, j is actually considered for the optimal schedule. Our dynamic programming principle says that if we are given a set of feasible options to choose from, so we have a variety of feasible options, what are we going to do? We are going to in a way try them all and take the best. But see what is happening here. If we are going to try them all, so because of this try them all situation, this running time is going to be kind of say, it is going to be horrible in the sense, please understand the situation by looking at the tree which is given on the screen. We have let us say 5 activities. So we start from the 5th one, that is the last one, optimal of 5. Either we will take it or we will not take it. Then this will go with optimal of 3, then optimal of 4. And looking at the kind of expansion of this particular tree, you can also witness that here many sub problems like finding optimal of 1, then finding optimal of 2, then finding optimal of 3 are getting called again and again. So because of this this recursion technique, if we are going to call or if we are going to calculate this opt 3, maybe let us say 3 times, or opt 2 is getting calculated 5 times, or opt 1 is getting calculated 4 times. So what is happening? This calculation is blasting our running time in a way. So running time here is going to be exponential. So now here the another characteristics of dynamic programming comes into picture, which is nothing but memoization. So memoization says once a value has been computed for a particular module of the problem, we are going to store that value in a global array. Global in the sense every other kind of every other module will be able to access that. and all the future attempts to compute the value will simply access the array rather than making a recursive call. So the idea is very simple. We will calculate once and we will use it many times rather than calculating it again and again. That's what memoization property of dynamic programming principle is. So in order to save us from recalculating, in order to save us from having this exponential time complexity, the memoization technique is there, and memoization technique comes as a savior. We will be computing all these values once only, will store these values in the table or in the memoized array, and then we will be using them whenever it is required. Another thing, this is going to give you the we can say value of total optimal schedule, but I have already told you that that is not the only objective. Instead, along with total value of the optimal schedule, we also need to know which activities are included into that optimal schedule. So for that we need to maintain a predecessor pointer, which is going to help us in backtracking. We say that whenever a choice is being made between two options, whether we are taking J or we are not taking that J, we will save a particular predecessor pointer telling us which choice has been made, and because of that predecessor pointer we will be able to backtrack, and then the whole schedule will be determined using the technique of backtracking. So basically what are we going to do in this scenario? First of all, we have seen that what actually weighted interval scheduling is, and then after weighted interval scheduling we will see how to go about solving this particular problem recursively along with the two situations. One, you are considering a particular activity inside your optimal schedule for your optimal schedule, and another scenario you are rejecting that particular activity. Calling those best of these two recursively is going to give you kind of horrible exponential running time complexities. So here we will introduce memoization, and after memoization, in order to construct the final schedule or in order to determine the final schedule, we will take the help of a predecessor pointer, which helps us in backtracking and determining the final schedule along with the value of the schedule also. So this was a complete we can say detailed idea about how we will approach the solution of weighted interval scheduling problem using your dynamic programming approach. Hope you have a fruitful lecture. Thank you for patient hearing.